Hi, so thanks for joining us for our second Facebook Live session about choosing and enrolling in programs. We've posted our first session along with lots of additional resources and information about programs in a program selection module on our Vic Academic Advising Quercus page. So please check that out, and you can get to that through our Facebook page as well. So today we wanted to tackle a few additional questions about programs that we got in response to our first session, and also that we've been hearing from you in the past few weeks.
Yeah, and one of the sort of far and away one of the most common questions that we often get is, I'm not sure what I want to take, and I'm also not sure whether I'm going to get in. Do I actually need to enroll in programs after first year? The short answer is yes. You have to enroll in programs after you've completed 4.0 FCEs. So for many of you, that will be after the winter term, but for some of you, that will be in the summer. This means that even if you don't have the grades or aren't sure what programs that you're going to want to apply to, you're still going to need to enroll in some sorts of programs. You can think of those programs perhaps as placeholder programs that you're going to be in just to sort of tide you over until you figure out what it is that you want to do. The issue here is that if you're not enrolled in programs by the time course enrollment comes around in July, you actually won't be allowed to enroll in any of those programs. So if you're trying to figure out how you can get into a Type 3 program that has certain enrollment controls, make sure that you look at a lot of different Type 1 or open enrollment programs to figure out how you can enroll in those, and then use those as a placeholder before you enroll in the programs that you're really going to want to be in.
Okay. And I think this is a great time to come in and have a conversation with an academic advisor. We can help you find some placeholder programs and help you make a plan for second year that will sort of take that into account. And that kind of leads us to the next question. So one thing that we often hear from students, what happens if I can't enroll in my program of choice during the first request period, but I need to be in the program to enroll in the second year courses that I need? So when you're looking at courses for next year, you might notice that some of them are restricted to students in the program that you want to be in, or that students in that program have priority for courses, for the second year courses in the program. So that can be an issue if you're not requesting the program during the first request period, because you won't be in the program by the time your second year course enrollment comes around. So if you find that you're in that situation where you're taking courses over the summer with a plan to enroll or request the program in the second request period, you will need to enroll in other programs in the way that Henry's just described, and then enroll in whatever relevant courses are available to you. And you might be able to add some additional courses relevant to your program after the priority enrollment period ends if you're not already in the program. If courses are restricted to students in the program and you're not in the program, it can sometimes be possible to add those courses in the early weeks of the term once you've been admitted to the program after the second request period, but I wouldn't count on being able to add those courses. So this can be a challenge, but it is often an issue only with a small number of courses and programs, and there's often lots of options other than those courses that will still be very useful to you. So again, this is a great situation if you find yourself in this situation to come in and talk to an advisor. We'll help you navigate and understand the different enrollment controls and what it will mean for you, and help you make a plan for which courses to prioritize during your second year course enrollment.
Great. So yesterday was the first day that program enrollment opened up, and I know that in our office we had a ton of panicked-looking students saying, I'm not sure what I need to do. Do I need to enroll in the programs right now? And I think that this gets to a big question that we see. Is it better to apply early in the enrollment period, or does it matter when you're applying? So this is a little bit of an interesting question. First off, for some Type 3 programs, the sooner you apply, the sooner you're going to get the information about what that supplemental application is going to look like. This doesn't mean that you have a better chance of getting into the program, but it does mean that you're going to have more time to go through that document and really figure out how you're going to answer those questions or what else you might need to prepare. But for all other programs, it's not going to matter at all. They aren't going to make decisions until after the winter term, so you don't really need to think about rushing through and trying to make sure that you're enrolling in programs today or tomorrow, but really make sure that you spend some time thinking about what programs you're going to want to enroll in. And finally, with Type 1 programs, it's also important to remember that these aren't programs that you're applying to, they're open enrollment. So as soon as you hit that Type 1 program on Acorn, you are actually going to be enrolled in that program, but you're allowed, of course, to switch later on as you go throughout your career here.
So the one exception to that, which we will talk about in a couple of minutes, is the collaborative life science programs, when it very much does matter when you apply to the program. But otherwise, Henry's advice stands. So a question that we often see with students who maybe reduced their courses during the year, dropped a couple courses, or decided to take a gradual approach to starting their studies, and may not actually be at the point of completing 4 FCEs at the end of their first chronological year here, wonder whether they still need to add programs. So if I have not completed 4 FCEs by the end of the winter term, do I need to add programs? And the answer to this is actually no, and in fact, in most cases, you won't even be able to add programs. So if you're taking summer courses, and this will take you to 4 FCEs, then you might make a request during the second request period. Or if you will be reaching that 4 FCE benchmark during what will be your second year here, then you'd actually be applying to programs at the end of what will be your second year at U of T.
Great. And as Emily alluded to, there are some considerations to think about when you're applying to the collaborative life science programs. And something we get from students is, what are the special steps and what are the special considerations that we need to keep in mind? So for the collaborative life science programs, there are some special steps that you need to take. First, you can only apply during the first enrollment period, and decisions for these programs are made on a rolling basis throughout the term in the summer. So as Emily pointed to earlier, it does matter when you actually are applying to these programs. It's also important to keep in mind that you can only apply to a maximum of 6 programs from the collaborative life science group, and if you want to apply for more than if you try to apply for more than 6 from this group, you actually will be removed from some of those programs. So make sure that you are checking out the acceptable combinations of programs if you're applying for the life science collaborative programs.
So this is quite a complex process, and it's also a new process. So if you're looking at any of these programs, so these are things like a specialist in immunology or physiology, these programs that are run in collaboration with the Faculty of Medicine, please come and see us and talk to us and make sure you understand the process, because you may miss your opportunity if you don't have those key dates in mind. And then another program that has some special considerations for it, of course, is computer science. So many of you know there's a new process for computer science this year, and it includes a new supplementary application. So for computer science, it's now round 1 applications only, so you can only apply during the first request period. And in addition to the marks in the required courses that they'll be looking at, admission to the program will be based on responses to the student's choice of 3 out of 4 questions that they'll provide. So you choose the 3 that you want to answer, and you'll answer each in about 250 words. So that's equivalent to about 1 page double space, just to give you a sense of what you'll be writing. And once the department has received and reviewed those written applications, they may invite some candidates for interviews to sort of verify some of the application questions. So you're welcome to come in and talk to us about that process, and to discuss the process of the new computer science application as well.
Yeah. And another big question that we've been fielding in our office lately is, are there a maximum number of programs that you can apply to? And unless you're applying to the collaborative life science program, some of the process of which we were just outlining, there isn't a maximum amount of programs that you can actually apply to. At any one given time, however, you can have up to 3 programs active at any time, and you have to remember that Type 1 programs become active immediately, so that's the only sort of limit and numerical sort of maximum that you really need to be keeping in mind when you're applying. But it's also important to remember that you can always change programs as you're going throughout your time here at U of T. You're not signing away your life. You're not going to be locked into these specific ones that you apply to in your first year.
So those are the questions that we wanted to bring to you today. I've just had a look, and we're okay for questions on Facebook, but if you do have questions, please write them in. We can answer them there, or you can email us at vic.registrar or come in for a drop-in or make an appointment. We're happy to answer any questions that you have about program enrollment, or even just program exploration and thinking about, what you might want to be doing. So you can always leave comments here or email vic.registrar@utoronto.ca, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
Great, thank you.